Hello guys, welcome back to the channel. So in today's tutorial, we're going to be looking at Agile project management using Jira. So we're going to be covering what is Agile project. We're going to look at Scrum, Kanban, and you're going to see how to do or manage all that using a real-time software called Jira. So let's jump into this. So you might be wondering, okay, you might be know what Agile project management is. Okay, so you might have like an IT project, or you might be belonging to a small team in a company, and you need to manage your project. Maybe you used to do this using pen and paper or word of mouth. So sometimes you need to go out to actually do this using a technical tool. And one of the technical tools or software we can use for this is called Jira. So what is Jira? So Jira is a project management tool, a collaboration tool that helps you to manage your different projects. So in this case, you're going to see how you can use Jira to do to use it for agile project management. Basically, you're going to focus on Kanban approach or framework of agile project management, and you're going to see how to apply Jira in doing that instead of using noteboard or pen and paper. You're going to see how to do that using Jira. Okay, so let's look at the course outline and see everything that you're going to be covering in this course. So we're going to be looking at introduction to the Agile methods. You're going to look at the relation between Jira and Agile in the Agile project project management tool. You're going to look at the different frameworks used in Agile, and you're also going to focus on Kanban. Kanban. You're going to look at what the Kanban board is. You're also going to look at what the Kanban card is, and you're going to have a simple project. You're going to practice everything that you're going to be learning in this project, in this series, actually in this video. So let's get into it. So what is agile method? So you've probably heard the word agile in project management a couple of times. So this is a project management method that is commonly used by most software development teams. So I'm going to look at this from a more of a developer's perspective rather than a project manager or a product owner's perspective. So what is an agile? And I got this iteration from Atlassian, and Atlassian is just one of the best. It's is actually the company that created the Jira software. So they have a great course and article on what how to use Jira and what is the agile project management method, because Jira is designed specifically to manage software agile projects. Okay, so when we're using agile project management, Jira is the best tool to use. So they have a very good documentation, and I got this definition of agile from the documentation. So they said agile is an iterative approach to project management and software development that helps teams to deliver value to their customers faster with fewer headaches. Basically, it enables you to deliver work in small chunks rather than delivering a whole project at a time. Agile project management help you to deliver different features of that project at a given time rather than delivering the whole project at a time. So it's consumable, it's incremental. So every time during every iteration, you're going to add new features to the existing features that you've already delivered. So instead of delivering one project at one go, Agile helps you to break down into different sections, and you can deliver different section at different time intervals. Okay, so constantly is constantly evolving, constantly improving, and constantly changing projects and adding more features to a project. So what's the relation between Jira and Agile? Okay, so we said that Agile is just a software management methodology, and we said that Jira is just a software that is used to make the Agile project management much easier instead of having to do it using the word of mouth or having to use uh, sticky notes on a board that many people use in companies. Jira helps you to do that in a much easier way. So we're going to look at all that just in the upcoming section. Okay. So you might be wondering what is okay. So let's just by looking at what an agile basically agile method approach is. So if you're working in a team and you're using agile project management, you might have something a board like this. Maybe on a blackboard, you might draw different columns like this, right? Or on on a book, you might draw different columns like this. And you might have the to dos, the progress section, and then the done. So the to dos are just the different features or work that is needed to be done in the project. So you can write this on a sticky note, and you can stick it within the to do column of your columns or of your workflow basically. And then you can have the progress in progress, you can have the done and all that. So a board can have more than one columns, but this is just a simple example to explain it to you. So you may have a to do, and once you're done the to do, you can move the sticky notes to the progress column. Once you're done with you're done with that task, you can move it to the done column. So that's basically what we can think of an agile body. So it's called these columns are also called agile lanes. They're also called columns. So in Kanban they're called Kanban swim lanes. Okay, so look at all this. Don't worry, we'll cover all this. So this is where the Jira comes in. So naturally, people do this using like a sticky note. They write the different to dos on a sticky note, and then they stick the sticky notes inside of different columns. Right, the different columns, like the to do column, the in progress column, and the done column. So they move those sticky notes from one column to another one to indicate the progress of that task. Right, so through the workflow. Right, so they move it from one column to the other depending on what has been done on that specific task. So they have multiple tasks, and each task is on a sticky note. And once a task is done, it's moved to a given is moved to a different column. So for example, if it was in the to do column, and you can move it to the in progress column, you start working on it, right? Once you're done working on it, you move it to the done column. So that's basically what traditional people they do. But by using Jira, it's as a software, it makes it much easier. We're able to do that using just the computer software instead of having to physically have a board and then having to write those sticky notes and all that. So that's basically the point of Jira. So in Jira, there are different frameworks that can be used. So let's look at a couple of the common frameworks can be used. Sorry, by in Agile, rather in Agile, there are two main frameworks used in Agile, right? So these are the two main frameworks. There's Scrum and then there's Kanban. So Scrum is actually very intuitive. So Agile team is given work, right? So each team is given work within and given a specific interval of time to deliver that work. So for example, maybe you are doing a project, right? So you meet with your project manager or your project owner, and then you discuss what features need to be delivered. So uh, once you have the meeting, they can list all the features that need to be delivered, and the project development team can give in a time of maybe like 2 weeks to deliver the different features that they have discussed within the meeting. So such meetings are called as sprint meetings. So sprint meetings are held, and then the different tasks are distributed to different developers, and they're given a time, an interval called a sprint. So an interval can be like 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks. They call the sprint. Okay. So maybe if you're given a sprint of 2 weeks, well, after 2 weeks, you must deliver the features that has been assigned to you during the sprint meeting. That's basically what an agile method is. And after the sprint, at the end of the sprint, you're going to, basically at the end of 2 weeks or whatever the sprint interval is, you're going to go ahead and have another sprint meeting where you discuss what you have done, what challenges you have faced, where you have whether you have able to be able to deliver the requirements or anything. You communicate with the team on what you have done, your progress, the challenges that you face, and other stuff like that, right? So that's basically what a Scrum method is. Okay, so after at the end of the sprint method, if there are any other requirements, again they're discussed, and then everybody's assigned given requirements to deliver, like a project to deliver, basically a feature of a project to deliver. And then after the end of the sprint, maybe example 2 weeks in this case, you have another meeting, discuss whether you have been able to complete the task, the different progress you have done, and all of that. That's basically what Scrum is. Now let's look at another framework of Agile, which is also called the Kanban. So I find Kanban actually very easier than than Scrum. So in Kanban, then there's no sprint, like there's no fixed interval. So basically, work is constantly added, and there's constant communication between the project manager or the project owner, the customers, and the delivery team. So the development team. So there is constant communication between the two. And if there's any task that arises, it can be easily added to the to-do list of a given development team instead of having to wait for a sprint to complete before adding a new task to the development team. So in Agile, in a Kanban, there's always constant communication, constant real-time progress reporting, and all of that. So full transparency. Basically, everyone knows what the other is doing at any time. There's real-time communication, and there is real-time delivery. Okay, so that's basically what Kanban is, and Kanban is much easier from my point of perspective compared to Scrum. So let's take a look into the squats. Let me just let's use a visual way to understand Scrum. So in Scrum, you have a sprint meeting, right? So at the end of the sprint, during the sprint meeting, you are discussing the requirements, and then the requirements are distributed to the different development teams. So let's say we have task 1, task 2, and task 3, and they are allocated to the different development teams. We have team green, team yellow, and team red, right? So each team has a task assigned to it. So maybe you set a sprint period of 2, a sprint interval of 2 weeks. Okay. So after 2 weeks, we're going to have another sprint meeting. We're going to discuss the progress of the task. So the different development teams will start their work after the sprint meeting. So maybe we start task 1, right? So task 1 gets done, we move into the progress section. Once we're done with it, we move into the done section. We move task 2 into the in progress section, in progress column. Once you're done with it, you move it into the done column, and you do the same thing for task 3 until you are completed. And that's basically a Scrum. And if you come to Kanban, it's a bit different. In Kanban, you see we had task 1, and we also added task 4, even though we haven't finished task 1, right? So that's basically Kanban method. It's real time, and different requirements can be added to the different to the to-do list at any time, or to the requirements at any time. So you can see we're having no task previously. We're having only 3 previously, and once you move one into the requirement, the project manager or the product owner comes to another requirement that is get added to the to-do list. So once we done, we completed, we move it to the to-do list, and like that. Basically, So we can add is real time, and you can add there's real time communication. You can add more tasks to the to do list. Unlike Scrum, we must finish all the requirements that's been specified within the sprint interval before a new requirement can be added. In Kanban, requirement can be added at any time without having to finish the sprint, because in Kanban there's no sprint. Okay. Okay, so now that we've looked at Kanban, and that's what we're focusing mostly. We're using Kanban, and let's take a look at what the Kanban board is. So at the Kanban board, the Kanban board looks something very similar to this, and we'll look at it in Jira more. So we have to do, in progress, and done. So you can have multiple columns or just this amount of columns. So for example, if you're going to add another column for testing, you can add another column for testing. That's basically what we call a Kanban board. So a Kanban board has different things within a Kanban board. So let's take a look at those things. We have cards, and cards are just, for example, if I scroll back here, you can see we have this task 1, task 2, task 3. Each of those is in own card, right? So that is called a card. Okay, so that's basically a card or stickies. They're also called stickies. This is where we write the different tasks that we want to work on, that we want to be that we want done. The cards given give a quick view of what the team members, which team member is located to which task, or what the task is about, and all that, in the time given and all that. So we also have columns, and this is also called as a Kanban swim lanes. Each column or each activity is divided in the Kanban board is divided into different columns, and these columns are called Kanban swim lanes. Okay. So if I go back here, you can see the to do is a Kanban swim lane, in progress a Kanban swim lane, the done is also a Kanban swim lane. Good. So also we have workflow. The collection of columns make a workflow. So the collection of different columns make a workflow. So in this case, a workflow has 3 different columns: the to do column, the in progress column, and the done column. So there's a collection of all these columns are called a workflow. So what is a commitment time? The commitment time is a point when a team picks up on the project or feature from the team board, from team backlog, and begins to work on it. So even if you pick a project, or if we pick a task from the team backlog and you begin to work on it, that is called the commitment time. The commitment time at the point at which you pick a task to begin to work on it is called a commitment time. Delivery point of a project or feature. This is typically at the end of the workflow. So that this is when the delivery of the new feature is done to the customer or the client, basically. So we have the different columns and swim lanes, and you move from to do swim lane to in progress and then to done. After done, that's probably when the customer actually is being delivered, right? The feature is being delivered to the customer. So that's at the point of delivery. That the time it takes to deliver that thing, we call it a delivery point. Okay, and delivery point is mostly the last swim lane in our workflow. Okay. Okay, so we also have lead time. So what is lead time? Lead time is a time taken from when you pick a new feature until the delivery point of a new feature. So at the point of picking the new feature, right, the commitment point to the delivery of the project or the feature is called is a lead time. So the time from the commitment point to the delivery point is called a lead time. So the time from where we pick a project from the to do swim lane until the done swim lane, that interval of time is called a lead time. Okay. So once we have that, let's look at work in progress limit. So sometimes when you're working with projects, you can in Kanban you can decide how many different tasks can be in project at a given time. So for example, imagine if I just scroll back here, imagine we said it like this, right? We had these 3 different tasks, and now we move task 1 into in progress. So task 1 is being worked on. So imagine that we can just move all the tasks, task 2, task 3, task 4, all of them into the progress at once. That would be a lot of tasks, right? And the development team might not, you don't have the human capacity to be able to complete all that task, or you don't have the resources to be able to complete all the 4 tasks at once. So we have a limit to how many tasks can be in project and can be in progress at a time. So that is called the work in progress limit. So that's basically it. So in some cases, you can have 2 work in progress. You can have 2 different tasks in progress at the same time. Some companies you can have 5 different tasks in progress at the same time. Some companies can have just 1. It depends on the company and how many programmers or developers they have working for the company. Okay, so if there are more programmers, then there can be more tasks within the in progress at a given time. If there are fewer programmers, then there can be less task in progress at a given time. Okay, so once you have looked at a work in progress limit, that's basically what work in progress limit is. And let's look at delivery point. Delivery point of a project or feature. We've already looked at the delivery point here. So if I go back here, we've already looked at the delivery point already. So yeah, that's basically the delivery point, and also the lead time. We've already looked at that already. So why a digital board is needed? Why don't we just do this using sticky notes, as I said earlier on? So in some companies, you might find people drawing. They have whiteboards, and the whiteboards that they've drawn different columns, and each column is sticky notes, and each sticky note represents a task, right? And has some ratings on it on what the task about and who has been assigned the task. So why do we need a digital board? Okay, number one, recently, like from COVID and other stuff, remote work, remote teams have become like they're the norm of the day, right? Everybody's working remotely. Every team member if you're doing remote thing, every team member can see what's going on in the workflow at any point of time, regardless of their physical location. So if it was not for the software, digital software board or the digital board, then like I don't know how they have to like maybe that they have to take a picture and then share it with all the remote workers of what the progress the workflow is like. But with a digital board, anyone can log in. You can add many people into your Jira software, and everyone can see who is working on what at what time, whether they've completed or not. So it's good for remote teams. It's easier to work with using a Kanban board. It's easier to work than having to actual and a physical board, right? So physical board, I don't think physical board actually good. So it's easier to work with compared to physical boards where you have to walk around just to move a card from one point to another. With a digital board, you can just sit right at your desk and be able to do stuff right there, right? So that's basically one of the advantages of a digital board. Okay, let's look at what a Kanban card is. So these are the cards that are moved from column to column in the workflow. This is basically the different tasks that I showed you earlier on. So if I go all the way here, so these cards are this task one, task two, the green, the yellow, and the red and the blue boxes. Basically, these are just the Kanban cards, basically. Okay, so that's basically what a Kanban card is. These cards should be physical. These are physical card or digital cards that provide a description of the task, information such as the due date, the owner of the task, or the history, what's needed, who is working on it, what needs to be done. All that is providing instead of a Kanban card. So who makes a Kanban card? So a Kanban card can be made by different people, and that's the whole point of having a Kanban board. It can be made by different people. It can be made by the project owner, the product owner, the project manager, developers within the team. Anyone can make a Kanban board, provided that there is provided there is a proper communication between the different team members. Anyone can go ahead and make a Kanban board. Okay. So who is the product owner? So the product owner represents the business and represents basically just acts as a link between the business and then the development side of a given project. So the product owner talks to the customers to collect the requirements, and then goes ahead and discuss the requirement with different stakeholders, and then once they have an agreement which forms a project backlog, those agreements are communicated to the development team to make sure that both the stakeholders and the development team are both in agreement on what's needed to be done. So the person who coordinates the link between the stakeholders and the development team is known as a product owner. So product owner comes to the list of all the requirements and present all these requirements to the development team, and the development team can have their to-do list and the other stuff like that. They can have their own Kanban board with a different to-do list, which are the requirements from the backlog of the project that is created by the product owner after having a discussion with the different stakeholders such as customers and other stuff. So that's basically a product owner, just a link between the development team and the customer or the stakeholders of a given project, to make sure that there's a proper communication between the two and the requirements of a project are understood by both parties. So once we have that, now let's take a quick look at how we can actually work with Kanban, we can Jira, because we've looked at all the theories, we've looked at all the terminologies. Now let's jump into a simple approach. So we're going to go ahead and do a practical approach of whatever we have learned so far. And you're going to pretend that you're going to assume, let's not pretend, you're going to assume that you're working on a project of creating an API. Basically, this API is going to be built with Fast API, and it's going to use a MongoDB database, and it's going to be just simply storing blog content. So user can be able to register, log in into the API, create different blog posts and other stuff like that. Can delete blog posts, can retrieve blog posts, can update blog posts, right? Cloud functionality for the blog post. So that's basically what the API, the project requirements are. So that's basically the project requirements. And let's see how we can manage as a project using a Kanban board. Okay, so I'm going to simply go into my browser. So you can simply go into Jira and then simply create an account. So you can just search for Jira online and then simply create an account. I already have an account created called codewithprince.atla. Once you create the account, you'll be given your username will be the first one, .atlassian.net, and then finally Jira or whatever workflow we are working on. So that's basically it. So go ahead and create a Kanban account. Just type in Jira software free account, and just create a free account. So once you create the account, you have logged in. It looks something like this. For me, I already have some workflows and other projects already running. I just did this just to test before I created this course, right? So these are just some few projects already. So in your case, once you create it, you are going to go ahead and go into the project session. So just click on project and simply say create project. So just like that. And you're going to go ahead and create a Kanban project. So we also have the Scrum project and also have the backtracking, but you're going to go ahead and creating the Kanban project. So visual and advanced for project forward using issues or powerful board. Okay. So you also have the Kanban board. If you also have the sprint board, the Scrum board rather, which you have this different sprints and other stuff like that. Also, you have this one backtracking where you can for tracking bugs and other stuff, failures of software, right? So you're going to be using the Kanban method. So I'm going to simply click on Kanban. Okay. So once I create that, I can say I'm going to use a template. So I'm going to go ahead and say use template. And I'm going to say select a team manage project because this is for a team and not a company. So I'm going to use a team. So once I have that, I give the project a name. So I'm going to call this project, I'm going to call it blog API. Okay. So once I have that, once I have that, I'm going to go ahead and simply hit on create project. Click on that. So once it's this is gonna take some time, and once the project is created, we get drawn here. So you can see we have the Kanban board already. So this is the Kanban board. You can see do, in progress, and done. So you can add more boards if you want, but I will go step by step and learn everything as we go. So the first thing I want us to do is create a project, and you have done that, right? So this is now the Kanban. You have created a Kanban project. You have used a template. You have created a team project, and also we have added. Now let's go ahead and learn how to add a member to the team. So now you have created a project. You can now add members to the team, right? So you can have multiple members within your team. So how do you add people to your team? You just go to people and just simply say invite teammates. So from here you can just type in the name of the user that you want to invite. This is going to go ahead and send them an email. So let me just go ahead and say let me just say coding shark 206. So this is my public email. So codingshark206@gmail.com. So I'm going to go ahead and simply add one person. So this is going to go ahead and send the email. So you can see successfully added. We have sent an email to this specific email address. Confirm you needed to add to Jira software. So once this is done, the person is going to go ahead and is going to get added right here. So it's going to send them an email. The person can open the email and then accept the invite. So that's basically how you can add people into a project. So once we have added a person into our Jira software, now we can add them into this specific project. So you can click on add person, and I'm going to go ahead and type in the name of the person right here. So if I just say, you can see the name of the user appears right here. So the user that I just invited, it is this one right here, has already has accepted the invite and now is added to Jira. Okay, so I'm just going to click on that person and then simply say add. Okay, so once I've added, you can see the person has been added. You can even manage access if you want. You can click on manage access, and from there you can see the different people within the team. So you can see they have added two people to our project, right? There's Code Prince and then Prince Cramper, which is just me, right? So good. So once you have that, you can also click on add and add more people to this if you want. Okay, so that's all I want to do. And once I have those done, I'm going to go back into my Jira, and then finally go ahead and click my project. So I'm going to go ahead and click this one right here. This is the project you're working on. Okay. So good. Once we have that done, we have added a person into our project. So we have added a person to Jira, and then from adding the person to Jira, we have now added them to this specific project that we're working with, which is called blog board. Right. So good. So we have added the person, and let's talk about the Kanban swim lanes. So these are the Kanban swim lanes we have seen. So these are the Kanban swim lanes. Okay, so the swim lanes. So these are the different columns which are called Kanban swim lanes. Okay. So let's go ahead and actually try to create different tasks. So to create our blog API, right, you need to have a couple of things. We need to create a login, a registration system, and then we need to create a login system, and we need to create a system where users can be able to perform CRUD functionality, right? So good. So let's go and add the first one, which is create user registration. So you say user registration just right here, and I'm going to press enter on my keyboard. So I can simply go ahead and click on this side and add more information if I want to. So let me go ahead and add more description. So this description will be the information that the person who is assigned to this project can see and can review. So let's tell them what exactly they need to do in order to create the user system, the user registration system. So let's say create user, let's say user registration system where let's say where users can be able to register. So they need to be able to register, and might be register using email, their password, uh, and username. Okay, so that's what they need to. The user need to be able to register. So the username and email needs to be unique for each user. Good. So we're just saying that you need to create a user registration system. Users can be able to register using their email, their password, and then their username. And the username and the email needs to be unique for each user. So that's basically it. So let's we say that we want to use MongoDB database and Fast API. So MongoDB database, MongoDB, and Fast API. So it's gonna be Fast API can be used, must be used. Okay, should be used. Okay, good. So that's basically, so I'm acting like maybe the project, the lead of the development team, and I got this requirement from our backlog, which is created by the project owner. So now I'm issuing this to my development team. So basically, I'm just going to go ahead and create this task. So that's basically the registration task. You can add different documents. Maybe you have a different document explain the different how do you call the different schemas of the database and all that. You can share all that link, right? You can attach a document and stuff like that. So basically this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to go ahead and close this for now, and let's go ahead and add another one, which is going to be the user login. So say user login. So good. So I press enter, and I go add a description to this. So user login. So what must the user be able to do in order to login? So user can use, must use, or let's say should use email and password to login, right? Maybe the users can use also maybe Google authentication and other stuff like that. Basically, you can specify all that you wanted. This is a demo, so just say let's just go ahead and press save. So that's basically for the login system, user login. And now we're going to go ahead and create another system, which is a CRUD functionality for the database, right? So we're going to say CRUD for blog post. Let's say blog posts. Okay, so that's, I'm going to press enter. And I'm going to go ahead and create this requirement right here. So let me just go ahead and say the description of this requirement. So users can be able to create. So users should be able to create, update, delete, and retrieve blog posts, just like that. So users should be able to create, update, delete, and retrieve blog posts. Okay, so that's basically what the users can be able to do. A user can only delete, update, or users can only be able to delete or update content that is created. A user, so you can say user can only be able to delete and update blog that they created. Great. So that's one functionality, and users can be able to create blogs whenever they are logged in. So login required to create, update, and delete blog. Let's say blog content. That's basically, so that's basically the requirement, and I'm going to go ahead and click on save. So good. So once I have that done, I'm going to go ahead and close this. So you can see you have the three different tasks right here. Okay. So now let's go ahead and add another user, which I've already added. We have already added Prince, right? Code Prince. So if you go into the users, you should be able to see Code Prince. So now we're going to assume that Code Prince is going to be a developer of the basically the coder of this application. It's going to be the one coding the application, right? And then you're also going to have a part you're going to be able to test our application. So we're going to add a new column right here. And you're going to simply add a new column. You're going to simply say test, basically. So test, and you can just go ahead and move it here. So let's move it after the in progress is done. You can change this to be, instead of in progress, you can change it to be this. You can change it to be develop. Let me just go ahead and close this. You can change this one to be development or something. So say development. So development or coding, and then press enter. So you can call it whatever you want, but I'm just going to say it's going to be called development. Okay, so once we have that done, we are good to go. So we have the development, we have the testing, and then we have the done, right? So what I need to go ahead and do, I'm going to assign the development to code Prince, and I'm going to assign the testing to myself, which is this account right now, Prince Crumper. And then finally, the once it's done, I'm going to go ahead and uh, finally we have the done, right, which is not going to be assigned to anyone. So let's go ahead and actually do that. So just click on this section right here and go to manage workflow. And once we go to manage workflow, you can go ahead and you can see now our workflow. And we talk about workflow, right? We talk about different swim lanes forming the workflow. Okay, so you can see this is the workflow we have right now. So I want to go ahead and simply add a role. So click on add role, and I want to click on assign an issue, and then select that. So I want to go ahead and assign issue. So I want to go ahead, and development phase is going to be handled by code Prince. So it's because it's a developer in our team. So press enter, press add, and that rule has been added, and you can just click on update workflow and save. That's done. So once that's done, you can see now the workflow has been updated. So I want to also add another rule, and this is going to be assign issue. I'm going to select and assign issue. I want to go ahead and in testing, I want the testing to be handled by Prince Crumper. Okay. So once I press that, that should now go ahead and click on update and then simply save. So everything is done. So once we have that done, I can just simply close this right here, and I can go back to this right here, go back in here, and then click on this right here. So once it's clicked, we are good to go. So now you can see we have our swim lane boards right here, swim lanes right here. So now we have the different Kanban cards right here, which are different, these cards right here. So now if I move a card to the development phase, it's going to be handled by code Prince. So let's just go and say that now you're ready to go start development, right? So you're going to go ahead and simply assign the first task. You're going to move it into the development part. Okay. So now you can see now code Prince has been assigned that task automatically because we set that rule. So code Prince is now going to be handling this task right here. Okay. And what if I move another task in here and move another task in here, right? This is a lot of tasks, and Prince is only one developer. Code Prince is not being able to deliver. So how do we limit the number of tasks that we can assign to each column at a given time? So let me just move these ones right here and move them back here right here. So once I move them back here, I'm going to go ahead and can click on this right here, and you can set a work in progress limit. Okay, so work in progress limit, I'm going to send it to be 2. So you can only do 2 things at a time, right? That's the limit you have. And for testing, you can only test 1 feature at a time. So we're going to say that and say the limit is going to be 1. So only you can have only one card, or you can have only one Kanban card in this swim lane at a given point of time. Here we can have 2 different tasks in this swim lane at a given point of time. Here we didn't have any limit. Here we don't have any limit, right? So let's start the user registration. I move the user registration in here. Okay, and also I can say let me also move in the user login also into the max number here. Okay, so if I move in 3, it's going to give me an error. You can see now the max has been exceeded, so that's an error. So I need to move it back here. So I get a warning, basically telling me that I have exceeded the max limit the maximum work in progress limit that I have set. So basically we have assigned 2 different tasks to Prince, which is being handled by Prince. So let's say that Prince finished the user registration. So now is let's assume that I'm Prince. So I'm going to go ahead and simply open this, and I'm going to go ahead and read all the instructions. So this is coming from maybe my manager or my project lead. So I can see now I can just click on it and simply read a different task that I need to do. So once I read, okay, I understand what I need to do. I need to use a MongoDB database. I need to use Fast API and create a user registration system. User you can register using their email, their password, and their username, and thus email and username needs to be unique for each developer. So once I have that done, okay, I understand it. So I begin to code. So let's say after 3 days, I'm done coding the user registration system. So I'm going to say I'm moving into the testing session. So that testing now will be handled. Now you can see this one is going to change to now Prince Crumper, because Prince Crumper is the one who is dealing with the testing. So we can only test 1 feature at a time. So if I keep in multiple, it will give me error, right? So not if warning basically. So I cannot have 1 feature being tested at a given time. So Prince is going to run a test on this, and maybe I have a fault in my registration system and some bugs or something is maybe the password is not encrypted properly. So I can return it back here, say hey, we have an issue and the task is there, it's not encrypted properly. So you can see I've signed it back to development, and you can see it has now been assigned back to code Prince. So now let's say I go ahead and work on it again and solve the password encryption issue, and then I go move it again into my testing. So code with Prince, and I'm going Prince Crumper is going to go ahead and simply run the test on it, and once it's done passing the test, we're going to move it into the done part. So we are done the user registration system. So all the time we are doing the testing, Prince was working, code Prince was working on the user login system. So now say that it's done. So we can also move in another task for him if you want. Okay. So once it's done, we are going to go ahead and move this part into the user login. So it's going to test the user login system, maybe some bugs are discovered, we can move it back to Prince Scrumber to fix those bugs. And we can mention, we can, once you have a bug, we can also go ahead and update this. We can pass a description here and pass in, let's say, let's delete all this and say that the login system is not properly working for some emails. So the some emails cannot be used to log in. So this is just something theoretical I'm creating. So I'm going to go ahead and save this, and once I have that saved, I'm going to go ahead and move it back in here. So Prince is going to see, okay, that this the login system has failed the testing. So it's going to go ahead and open it and see what's error. And the error is emails cannot be used to log in. So okay, let me just go ahead and debug whatever the issue is. Maybe 3 days or 4 days later, I fix the issue, and I'm going to move it back into testing again. So I should run the test on it again. And once the test is done running and we have passed the test, Prince Scrumper is going to go ahead and move this into the done state. So now we are left with just the CRUD functionality. So while we are still working here, we can still add more stuff. So let's say we also add the ability to deploy this to the web. So you can say we want to add deployment. So we're going to add deployment, and then simply press enter, and we're going to add some description right here. So we're going to deploy on Heroku. So we're going to go ahead and say deploy to Heroku, just like that, and then simply press enter, and then press save rather. So once that's also there, so now we can Prince has seen, okay, we also need to deploy this. So Prince is still working on the CRUD. So I just decide, okay, maybe I'm Prince, code Prince, and I decide, okay, not let me just finish the CRUD fast, and I'm going to do the development. So I'm going to go ahead and focus on the CRUD. So I created the CRUD functionality, finished it, move it in here, and I'm going to go ahead and simply move in the development. So I'm now doing I'm waiting, because this maybe I need to wait for this to pass a test before I can move to deploying this. Okay, so I just wait a bit of time, and it has passed the test. So Prince Scrumper is going to go ahead and move it into done, so I can begin to work on the deployment. And once I'm done, I'm going to move it here. The testing is going to be done, and let's say that we need to add a load balancer. So it has failed our test. So I need to run some issues right here, and let's say we need to add a load balancer, right? So we need to add a load balancer like Nginx or something. So I'm going to go ahead and press save that, and I'm going to move this back into the development state. So Code Prince is going to be assigned this task right here. So I can simply click on a task and read what the issue is. So we need to add a load balancer. Okay, so I go ahead and simply add a load balancer, add some ngrok to deal with the load balancing, and once I'm done, I can just go ahead and simply move it right here, and the testing is going to be done to check if the load balancer works properly and load is being balanced properly. So once it's done, Prince Scrumper is also going to say, okay, this one passes my test, so I approve it. And once I'm going to move it into the done swim lane. So once I have done, we are done. We have completed all our tasks. So that's just a simple demo of the project. So I hope this actually gives you a brief idea of how to manage your project. So you can have multiple teams members in here, and you can assign each swim lane to a given team member. So how do you decide on the maximum? Yeah, the maximum the maximum cuts you can have in each swim lane is dependent on the size of your development team, right? So development team is huge, the more things you can do at a given each time, right? So the swim lane work in progress limit can be bigger. Okay, so yeah, that's basically it. And for good practice, they mostly say is that you just take the number of team members, multiply it by 1.5, the number you get is that's going to be a maximum number. Okay, so that's the standard that they have. But basically, you can choose any amount that you want to set for the maximum, depending on the size of your team or the capacity of your team, right? So that's basically it for how to do different project management, agile project management with Kanban using Jira. So if you want to use Jira, it's a good software to use. And if you guys like this video, let me know. Maybe I can make future more videos on this later on. So yeah, that's basically it. And I use SlideGo to make these videos. And thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the tutorial, you can go ahead and simply hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell in case I upload any future videos. And also you can support me. You can decide to buy me a coffee. This is you can support the channel is by liking the video, dropping a comment in the comment section below with a good feedback that I can use to improve the content. And also you can also subscribe to the YouTube channel if you haven't already. That's a great help for me. And also you can also buy me coffee, and the link is gonna be in the description of the video. So if you enjoyed it so far, so thank you for watching, and see you in the next one. Keep safe.